the Spurs. For the Spurs foul. Should Miami go for the three right away? Just attack the basket. James catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound box. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Welcome to the Ultimate Super Coach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Boom shakalaka!
G'day, hello Hoopers. I am at NBA GWiz, and joining me today for a very special presentation is this guy right here, my mate Nate Hand at Nicky's Falcon. Check him on out for the Phoenix Suns podcast. How you doing, Nate?
Matty, this is a pleasure, mate. We've known each other a long time. We've never actually done a pod together. So,
almost 30 years. This is probably one of the deepest friendships that we've known each other for. So when we say 30 years, this goes way back to we met because of sport. So you were a massive Suns fan when I met you, and a Texas Rangers baseball fan. You'd just come back over from being over in Texas. I remember meeting you in that Texas Rangers. I was like, oh, you like baseball? The red teacup.
So much shit for that red teacup.
You got a lot of shit for that red teacup. I was like, what's your name, Tim? Timmy. Now listen up, mate. You're a massive Suns fan. Give a shout out to your team and tell us a little bit about the Aussie Suns Fans podcast.
Well, yeah, Aussie Suns Fans pod. We've been doing it for about 3 years now. And Gav Spall started a Facebook group, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, just to have a talking group for Phoenix Suns fans in Australia. And that group grew to about 500 people in like 1 year, 2 years. So eventually about 3 years ago, we just started doing a podcast just for our group. It was just for the stream to the crew inside the Facebook group. And then we started putting out for everyone to listen to. And it turns out we get more American listeners now than we did Australians. So we've had to start recording at silly times in the morning because we go live and everyone jumps in our chat feed on YouTube. And now it's we've ended up friends with a number of the Phoenix Suns podcasts in Phoenix. We've met up with, I want to say at least five guys that run pods over there. Saul Bookman from PHNX crew, John Voida from Suns Jam Session, Justin from Fanning the Flames, Dan Duarte from Fanning the Flames and Coast to Coast. I've got a number of quotes from these guys that I want to put in through the show. So I thought I'd just draw from all those resources and give you some actual insight from guys that live in Phoenix, that live and breathe Phoenix from the ground there.
And that's a little bit where we're going to stick to our traditional format here for these Insight season previews, but also we wanted to get some content from these amazing guys over in Phoenix who are like on the ground, like the troops on the ground, podcast-wise, and also like media-wise over there in Phoenix. So Nate, you've actually done some of that research for us. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you subscribe to those podcasts and get your Phoenix Suns content, especially if you're a Suns fan and you're not on them right now. You 100% should be. Make sure you subscribe to those, and make sure you subscribe to Inside Fantasy Sports. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast from. Leave us a review. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whatever you get your podcast from. But also a big shout out to, you're having a bit of a sip in your drink. I'm going to have a sip of my drink from my 4-in-1 cup. By the way, as a thank you from Insight Sports and our good friends over at Standard Squeeze, Nate, you've got one of these on the way to you. It's a 4-in-1. Hold your coffees and hold your rosé, whatever wine you be drinking on. For one of these to come in for your camp, make sure you use the promo code INSIDE15 and get 15% off. And big shout out to Ash and all those guys in here. Thanks to our crew at Standard Squeeze. Now, I've got one question for you. Are the Phoenix Suns better or worse than last
we
year?
go any further?
Oh, go on.
No, anyone that watches our pod would know that we don't do it without drinking. Cheers, boys.
There's always got to be a beverage involved. Let's not lie. And it's orange too, which matches hat. So answer my bloody question you asked. Are the Phoenix Suns better or worse this year?
Better.
How?
By far.
Sell me on the Phoenix Suns being a better team.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. So I'm going to start with the head, and that's Vogel. So
we like it when they start with the head.
Always. Mate, the Suns have essentially flamed out 2 seasons in a row when they shouldn't have. I say that arguably that's going to piss some people off, but from a super fan,
no, they have 100%. Like, the evidence is there. You don't have a championship ring. At the end of the day, that's
we should have by now with where that team was in the development. But it all started, in my opinion, with Monty and DA. And I want to throw
100%.
throw CP3 into that as well. So
Okay.
there's going to be a lot of talk about DA and his usage. He wasn't being used correctly. He wasn't motivated to give his best. And in my opinion, when it came to playoffs, he turned into a little bitch. And a lot of that had to do with the relationship with Monty and what CP3 did on the court, I think. And I don't believe too many of the podcasters from Sunsland would disagree. They fixed that. So Monty's out. They've got a new coach in that has a history working with centers. DA's got his bag. So I think that's the first problem that's fixed. And then second,
I ask you this with that bag and DA, you're entrenched in the Phoenix Suns world. Outside voices like myself and other ones, we hear about like DA effort and his attitude. Like, and he's even been quoted as saying, I just wanted my first contract and then I'm cool. Do you think that is how much talk and him actually being like, okay, now I got to put in more work maybe for the next contract? You know what I mean? Like, what is that for?
Let's call him a labor of love. You never want to give up on your first round draft pick. It's the first one they've had. You don't want to give up on your first round draft pick. All the potential
that didn't happen with Dragon Bender.
When I say first round, first number one pick. Okay.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Matty, it really is a labor of love. That's why I'm struggling to talk about it. But you get to this point with him where you're so frustrated. And I thought last year was going to be his breakout season. Now we're in the same fantasy same fantasy group, and this is going to be a bitch for me because we're giving away each other's secrets. And you
think that's a problem? This is. I'm doing this whole show. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to play with the same dudes this year. I just want to change my name. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm taking Obi Toppin late as a flyer. All of a sudden, Obi Toppin's going like 4 rounds beforehand. Everyone's like messaging me like, oh, so you think Obi? Like, yeah, I think Obi's going to be a nice late round flyer. All of a sudden, he starts going in the 6th round. I'm like, you bastards. Can't get him in the 8th now.
Every year I hold my secrets back from you because I know you're good and I've only beat you once. So
yeah, look, thank you, and you did, and it was a tight year. But DA is like you love to draft your Phoenix Suns because you love a homer pick. Like you're one of these guys in fantasy who love a homer pick.
And I'm going to tell you, this year I'm not. Last year I took DA with my 3rd pick.
Yeah, you did.
And I was looking for trades the whole season, and no one would give me anything of value for him. So we want to go back to the question was DA, and I think this year, and it's been said actually, especially Saul Bookman said it on the PHNX Suns pod. He said DA's out of excuses. Okay, he's got his bag. He's got a new coach, and he's got a new point guard or a guard of distributing quality, if you don't want to call it a true point guard. There's no excuses this year for DA. But I also think there's a lot less pressure on him because of all the star power that's around him. So let's see what happens there.
So at the end of the day, last year, let's finish with their record. They were 45-37. We'll come to our predictions for them later on down there. Points per game, they were 17th. This is a team that should be considered an offensive juggernaut. When you think of not the guys who are on the screen right now, putting in Bradley Beal, but you think Devin Booker. Obviously, Mikal Bridges wasn't used as an offensive weapon like that he became in Brooklyn, but you bring in one of like the best 5 players, arguably, in the NBA in Kevin Durant, this 7-foot monster of a scorer, like one of the most elite scorers in NBA history. Of course, that's going to drive it up there. Your offensive rating at the end of the day was 14th overall for the season, did show improvement to the 6th towards the end of the trade, after the trade deadline. And your defensive rating, surprisingly, was actually 7th. And you didn't change after the trade deadline last year. I'm pretty sure, let me double check this. You actually went and you were tied for the 7th best beforehand with New Orleans. And then after the trade deadline, you were actually tied for this. You were actually clearly the 6th best defense in the league. So, as you said, you brought in Frank Vogel, who was known as a defensive coach.
You're the one talking about defense, though. I just before we move too far off, you mentioned Mikal Bridges. So with the Kevin Durant trade, Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, Phoenix community call them the twins. They were the most loved 2 players on the team. 100%. So losing them hurt.
So wait, real question. Do they love them more than Devin Booker? Real question. Is that true?
No.
Is that a thing?
No. Booker is king.
So Booker's king. It's like Booker number 1 with the ball, but like the fan favorites were those 2 guys.
Booker is absolutely the franchise. Yeah.
Cool.
Everyone in Suns community felt Mikal Bridges was robbed when Marcus Smart got Defensive Player of the Year. Honestly.
Yeah.
Not even just Homer love. That was the belief. So when you're talking about defensive ratings for the Suns, that doesn't surprise us.
Yeah, it doesn't. And the thing is this, they actually got better after the deadline, moving Mikal Bridges out, because low-key, I'm not even low-key, Kevin Durant's actually a really serviceable defender. Like, he brings that length and athleticism. He has a very good switchability. So you didn't really lose anything by way of that. So we'll get to some of those stats in a minute there. So they're a better team. We're looking at them that way. Have a look at the ins and outs, though, of this team. Bringing in this slide usually fits everybody. We couldn't fit everybody on the out, so we'll do that in another slide. Coming in, you've got Brad Beal, Shabazzi Metu from the Sacramento Kings, KBD, Keita Bates-Diop, who's already becoming a little bit of a fan favorite over there in Phoenix. He comes into you guys, of course, from San Antonio. Yuta Watanabe, who's been brought across probably thanks to Kevin Durant. Let's be fair. Hey, Yuta's pretty good. Yeah, let's bring him over. Jobs for mates. We love one of those. So Yuta Watanabe on my wrist is there. Drew Eubanks from the Portland Trailblazers. Eric Gordon from Houston to the Clippers, and then now on this home for a vet minimum. Saban Lee. Bol has just recently signed in the past week. And your rookie draft pick, Tumani Kamara. What do you like about the adds to your team? Let's talk about the ads. Everything.
Let's go
Why are you
top
high on
down.
the ads?
Let's go top down. You started this with the question, are the Suns better this year than last? And I said, absolutely. Yep. So the new owner, Matt Ishbia, came in and took over from Rob Sava. He put the bucket in. He put his money literally where his mouth was and went at 100%. The biggest trades. He went for Kevin Durant. He went for
players on the NBA court. You couldn't shut the dude up. Matt Ishbia came in and was like, Ishi came in. I've got to show like mad respect. I like him. I like that. I love him probably more than Mark Cuban. But like I love these owners.
When he would not give that ball back to Joker, everyone laughed.
Not give that ball back.
Great. You're not getting a fast break from this. No way.
No, it was.
And he knew exactly when to flop. He knew exactly when to flop.
He was a basketball player too. So what people don't know about Matt Ishbia is he actually used to play a little bit of hoops. So he's a bit savvy and he's a smart dude. That's why he owns a basketball team. So I think it was an awesome shout. I'm a fan of Ishbia. So yeah, back to your guy Beal. So he's thrown the bag in. He's made we're looking at a new car basically. You like Beal in the team, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. You look at it from this angle though. The reason we have Beal is because CP3 was done. That had to go, and everyone agrees that we weren't going to get another better season, and we didn't want to repeat what was going on. So there weren't good offers for CP3 out there. And when Bradley Beal's name comes up for CP3, you just get it done. And he did. You got it done. And since then, and we'll probably get into positional lineups later, but all the releases from Suns Media are that Bradley Beal will be the point guard. So he's going to be a facilitating shooting guard at the point.
Yeah, 100%. And then you look down the list, you've got a bunch of long dudes right here. Shabazzi Metu, Keita Bates-Diop, Yuta Watanabe. So you basically fill the whole team with 6'8", 6'9" dudes. It's like playing a version of 2K. You've just put a whole bunch of guys out there who can stretch the floor. It's literally a 2K team. Eric Gordon
was going to be our problem. Everyone was saying that the Suns they've no money left to get depth. You've spent all your money on 4 players. There's no room for depth. And then because of those 4 players, everyone came and signed 1+1s for minimum contracts. And look at this depth. This is better than the depth we had last year. This is a better depth on the depth chart. This is a lot better for you, 100%. You brought in Saban Lee. Bol was one of your most recent ads, and not making this list. You've brought in Abuki as well, right? He's signed as Abuki. You bought Azza. Go to old mate Azza. Shout out to our mate Aaron from Fantasy, by the way. So he's in there as well. You look down this; it's deep. Obviously, this rings with so many people coming in. You look who's gone out, and that's basically anyone without a shoe deal, because the only 4 players there, apart from one of them, has a shoe deal. You've got DeAndre with Puma, and you've got a couple of Nike lads running around the place right there. All your big money dudes, as you said. So who were your outs, Nate? I know you got all this there. There's 10.
There's 10.
we kept
Let's play a drinking game for everyone. I take a sip from my 4-in-1.
I'll just ramble off quickly the caps. So it was Booker, AD, Ayton, Ish Wainwright, Damian Lee, and Saban Lee we kept. These are in no particular order. Outs: Darius Baisley, Bismack Biyombo, Torrey Craig, Jock Landale, Chris Paul, Terrence Ross, Cam Payne, Landry Shamet, TJ Warren, and Dwayne Washington Jr. Now, Busy, Torrey, and Jock are going to be missed. They were loved.
Yeah.
They were disappointments to let go. And being an Aussie Suns Fans podcast, we always had a segment on Jock Landale every week, and we called him Jock.
He's got the bag. He got the bag over in Houston. Good on for Jock. Like he played meaningful minutes in the playoff series for you guys. He showed himself out to be he showed himself to be a serviceable NBA player, just like all great like Aussie basketball players. Like, to be honest, there's been no superstar Australian basketball player, you would say. Like, I mean, Ben Simmons was at that point and obviously has come back. I mean, who else? Ben Simmons at a point was the quote unquote best or the like NBA all-star level guy. But all the other guys we've had in there.
Very good season with us. Due to injury, he got lots of starts and he killed it. So.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call him a superstar.
No,
you know what I mean? Like Bainesy, not a superstar, but Bainesy's amazing. And I mean, in my head, like he went down obviously back over in Tokyo, and that was a damn shame. And he's come back, he's played with the Bullets, and he's like, I would have loved to have seen, not very well. I would have loved to have seen him come back, and I would have loved to have seen Aaron Baines retain that form after going like out of nowhere going down, come back and find it and be back on an NBA roster. But obviously, Australia needed to find a new Bainesy, and we found Jock Landale, and he stretches the floor, he rebounds, like he's got guts, like he just plays the game, and so him getting that deal over in Houston.
You and me Jock play in Melbourne when we went down for the exhibition game, and we watched him play for the Australian team, and that was awesome. So it was great to see him on the team. He's going to be missed. Crocodile Dundee is going to be missed. I'll tell you one player that's not going to be missed. One player that's not
Dwayne Washington Jr.?
No, Landry Shamet. Everyone hated Landry Shamet. He was a waste of $13 million. And to see him go out the door with CP3 for Bradley Beal, everyone was just, yes.
You basically picked up 5 better basketball players for the same price tag. Like, to be fair, if you look at the vet minimums that you've signed, you basically replaced the Landry Shamet with 5 better guys. And probably 5 nicer looking dudes as well, because only a mother could love the face of Landry Shamet. Looking at your season last year. Look, we love you, Landry. We don't love you. We don't even like you, most likely. Anyway, look, we're looking at the 23-24 season ahead. Before we get to that, we're having a bit of the 22-23 to review, and this was an absolute bastard of a chart to put up because of all the people out. This isn't looking at the stats from one team per se. In fact, this is a mixed match of everything else that they got from their respective teams last year. What we have right here on the Insight Fantasy podcast for these preseason is we've basically got all of the data from last year. We're looking at their fantasy rank where they finished, looking at where they were drafted, their ADP from last year, and basically their statistical profiles. What you'll notice on the left for those watching on YouTube or for you listening at home, what we'll describe as our symbols. So we've got a plus symbol, meaning we'll see increased return or increased value from last year, possibly. Down value from where they were last year, their rank-wise, ADP-wise, equal value to where they were, or something could go either way. Now, this is something that we're trying to do without sharing it with our people on air. I put these together off my gut thoughts, and I'm unsettled with the Phoenix Suns. I even said to my partner, I said to her, I was like, mate, bub, I do not know what's up or down with the Phoenix Suns this year because of how deep the roster is and the changes. So we'll talk you through them. We've got Bradley Beal down on last year, Devin Booker about equal value, Jordan Goodwin up value, Eric Gordon up value, Okogie Watanabe, Kevin Durant, yes, Kevin Durant, and Drew Eubanks all being down on where they were last year. Equal value, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and could go either way, is Keita Bates-Diop. Now, the tough one here, and this is my argument, and let's debate KD first. I see KD being down on last year for a couple of reasons. One, last year, he finished with an overall fantasy rank of 3. After the trade deadline, I've got it here, he was the 13th ranked player. So straight away, his ADP was 8. He was worse at the end of the season from where he was taken at the beginning of the season and his fantasy rank. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think KD is a great pickup. This doesn't mean that I don't think KD is a bad player. This doesn't mean that I think KD is not top 5 basketball players in the NBA. But it is me saying that Kevin Durant will not return the 3rd best value in the NBA fantasy season in the 23-24 season. So therefore, his value is down. Whether it's 12th, 15th, or 18th, it's still down on that last year, being picked in the 8th pick, him and being in Brooklyn, and him finishing 3rd before the deadline, like overall, but obviously 13th after the deadline. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I insane?
Well, it's your opinion.
It's my opinion. So you see him being better. So okay, how's this?
I've drafted him in my first round before. I would not do that this year. So there's probably validity to what you're saying. As far as fantasy stats go, it's going to be a different weight for him.
And we'll get to those weights in the next one.
Looking into his 3-point percentage, though, moving from Brooklyn to Phoenix, his 3-point percentage went up 15%. He went from 37% in Brooklyn. Now, granted, small sample size and all that of 8 games, but he shot 53% from 3 in the Phoenix system.
He was an absolute torch in that system.
The system is going to be different, and him and Booker are going to be the centerpieces of that juggernaut again. And you saw 100%. What that could look like in the playoffs.
So this is where we're talking about Booker, because you just brought him in. And this is where I see him being around equal value. In fact, I can probably change that to better value. After the trade deadline last year, Devin Booker in 23 games played was the 19th best player. His ADP last year was 18. You know what? I should change that to a plus. I'm going to say he's better than last year because his fantasy rank overall was 26. But then again, no, he's going to be equal. No, I'm not going to change it, Nate. He's going to be equal because this was also down the stretch without Kevin Durant. He had to have an improved role. Therefore, his overall points per game went up. Like he went up to 29 points a game from 23 points. So he went up to 29 points a game from 27. He went 1.8 threes per game. So he was down a little bit on his 3-point percentage afterwards, but he had a really increased field goal percentage last year. So down the stretch, he moved from 494 to 519 from the field. So I see him being around equal value as a 3rd round option this year. So early in your 3rd rounds, you'll probably get Devin Booker, and he'll probably return you that value at the end of the day.
Let's group KD and Booker into one conversation. Then, if you're going to talk about the negatives first, it's games played. So there was a total games played for KD last year was 47. Booker's games played were 53. Now you want to see more of that this season. You don't want to see those same kind of injuries and outs. And it's all right. We'll just coast in the playoffs. We don't need to finish 1 or 2 in the West. We can finish 4 as we did and still
just coast along.
So the negative is we want to see more games played out of them. The positive is definitely the system, and you talk about Booker being a sideways bet. So if I'm going to go and refer to some of the other pods,
I think he's equal value. I don't think he's sideways. I think he's equal to where he was roughly last year. I think he's going I think he slips from 2nd round value into 3rd round value. Basically, he was I think he's beginning of 2nd round. I see him being around the same as he was last year. Like you're 100% on his 3-point percentage went up in that system. He scores you. Like we'll get to it in the next slide. Like the man offers some really good, but he doesn't offer me anything super, super elite apart from points per game. And he's probably going to be down on his look. I see him possibly getting more assists this season as a 2nd playmaker in your system off Bradley Beal. So then they could even take turns because we were all thinking like when Chris Paul went point book. So if we see a bit more of a return of point book, he could actually be giving you some more of that. Like he gets you a steal a game, but I don't see him getting into the 1st round or
let me give you some comments on that. No, I think, and that's the problem. I think he's actually going to drop to the 2nd round. But let's look at some of the comments I got from the podcasts. So Justin Atso says, Jay is from Fanning the Flames pod. He said, when I asked the question, do you have a must-have or a 1st or 2nd round pick? Who would you take from the Suns? And he said, definitely Devin Booker. He's going to be up in efficiency and assists. So going to that point book thing you were talking about, that's
I think that's where
John Voider, at Darth Voider, who runs the Suns Jam session and he's the editor for Bright Side of the Sun. He pending his draft pick, he said he'd take KD or Book, but Book was again his primary pick for the team going forward this season.
And can I just shout out on that one for 1 second? I've got to shout out to the Bright Side of the Sun. Like they are an amazing group of Phoenix Suns fans and people who are fans of your team and their content online. I've even used that to reference in research for this one. It's a great community on SB Nation. So if you're not part of that, jump on Bright Side of the Sun. He's amazing. So definitely check out. Shout out to him because those blokes, Dave King over there, do a really good job.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You got to give love to Dave King because he started Bright Side of the Sun. It was his baby, and he did the Solar Panel podcast. Now he stopped his podcast and he's actually handed over the editorial and management of Bright Side of the Sun to John Voider from Suns Jam Session. So that's at Darth Voider for those that want to follow. But John's now running all the content for Bright Side of the Sun, and Dave's taken a step back. Dan Duarte does Fanning the Flames with Justin. He also does Coast to Coast Pod with Flex, who breaks a lot of the Suns trade news. He said Devin Booker as well. He basically said from this season, he's anticipating more games played and he's a stat stuffer. So it's not just the efficiencies across the board. And even Gavin from our Aussie Suns fans that runs that, he said originally he didn't really have a must-have from the Suns in the first round.
Yep.
But his hot take was Devin Booker is going to be a top 5 fantasy player by the end of this season. So I know we love a hot take, and they like
we love a hot take.
But yeah, he said Devin Booker is going to be a top 5. There it is. He reckons he's going to rise in steals and assists because of the improved efficiency with KD around him for a full season.
Okay. So, look, let's say that profile's out and that shakes out because that is a really real path. Look, let me bring my notes up. After the trade deadline last year for Devin Booker, his efficiency went up. He was at 5.19 from the floor, 8.65 from the line, 1.83, 29 points a game, 4.4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 1.1 steals. So, yeah, you're right. If you look at that, it's improved. Field goal percentage is up. Free throw percentage up. Steals only up 0.1. Assists were around about the same for him at the end of the day. His minutes were up slightly. He crept up to 35 minutes a night. Look, he's an exceptional basketball player. But at the end of the day, am I saying that he's first round pick?
Last year, though, CP3 absorbed a lot of the assists because that was his job. The floor general, he's assist king, and he was averaging so many a game. Those assists have to go somewhere. And Bradley Beal is not going to dish as many as CP3, so they're likely going to land with Booker.
All right, fine. I am looking if I have an early pick in the draft. So if I pick up pick 3, 4, or 5 in a draft, I am definitely looking at Devin Booker if he is there in my 3rd round early. I would like to pick him up there. No, because this is the whole thing. No, it's not disrespectful because I'm trying to get value. I mean, 100% I would draft him back on the turn in the 2nd round. But if I can let him go 6 picks and grab like someone who's going to give me some more, let's say if I can get someone, I don't want to say who I'm picking in my 2nd round because I've got a bit of I know I'm not going to get the first pick this year. I cannot get the first pick again this year. So I know I'm going to be picking later. I would like my 2nd pick because I really value my 2nd pick because that's where I decide with who I get, where I can turn my next, especially like last year. You know me, when I have the number 1 pick, I like 100% it's Nikola Jokic. But last year I was like, what do I feed with that? I feed assists and rebounds and good field goal percentage early on. And then I add my 3-pointers in. So last year I picked up Joker. I picked up Sabonis. My 3rd round, I picked up Cade Cunningham, who went down. So I had to pick and drop him out, Killian Hayes in, and then stream assists throughout the year. I had to trade to get De'Aaron Fox in my team, but his free throw percentage was down. I like to be tactical like that.
You robbed.
I did well with that. No. I gave up when returning to form Chris Middleton down the stretch, someone else just for De'Aaron Fox. And it was a decent player. I can't remember who it is. I think I won it. But De'Aaron Fox, though, kooks your free throw percentage at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's where Devin Booker doesn't. So if I can pick him up, again, 26 value last year overall, 19th after. So that's what I'm saying. If I can get him in the 3rd round with about the 26 pick where he finished last year, for me, that's a win. And we'll touch on very soon, like the first mock draft that was done of the year over at RotoWire with a bunch of experts.
Too, and you probably know better than this, that all the fantasy drafts, our group seems to draft early. They pick guys early. So, I mean, I took Devin Booker with my number 1 pick last year.
You did.
And then I ended up taking Trae Young with my 2nd. But
you did.
I'll tell you this year, I will not be taking a Phoenix Sun in the 1st round. And I'll see what's there in the 2nd.
Look, those guys are obviously the centerpieces of the Phoenix Suns. That's what we're talking about them the most right now. But what I want to talk about is your fringe guys here. I want to talk about the guys who are down in value and why. Only because at the end of the day, and we'll get to a couple of these, including Bradley Beal later, so we're going to touch on it. We'll just touch on them now. Down value for Beal, Obviously, just because he's not the guy anymore. Simply put, he is not the man. He could see improved efficiency. He could prove everything else. That's great for Bradley Beal. But he probably will be down on being the 38th player because a lot of his, I won't say value, but a lot of his worth was based on how many points a game that he had. He had a great season from the field last year. He had a really good season from the field last year. Like over 500 is fantastic for Brad Beal. Love that. He hits his free throws at a respectable clip. He gets your assists, but he was the 38th ranked player over day. And we see him probably in the 40s or 50s this year. And we'll get to that. Josh Okogie, he's out. He's out of his minutes possibly. So we're going to see him interchangeable. And we'll talk about that in the starting five. Yuta Watanabe, he could be, I just think he's down with his minutes. Like he had 18 minutes a game last year overall for the season. We'll find out about him. Down is Kevin Durant, obviously from that high pick. And Drew Eubanks, this is where I think he could be up depending on what happens, but he's down overall. Equal value, DeAndre Ayton. You've made his argument. Shabazz Metu, though. What do you... Yeah, go on.
Oh, do you want to talk about DeAndre? Because there's I just got a couple of points from so Jake Brogner. Yeah. He's at Fallen Founder. We call him Pod Slut because he basically just freelances across all the Sun pods. He actually had DeAndre Ayton for his first pick. Now, he didn't say in the first round, but he said he would be the first Phoenix Sun that he took in a fantasy. He did follow by saying he's really shit at fantasy. So,
yeah, look, I guess you could hold it, but that could be seen as a value thing because you know that obviously Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton are going to fly off the board early, so you're probably not keen to take them and lose value. So a smarter choice could be to pick up later DeAndre Ayton. Like I see the merit in it, but definitely if you had an early pick, take one of the other two blokes.
My first response to DeAndre Ayton is once bitten, twice shy. He caved my season last year, so I'm not going to do it again. That's just someone else can have him. I don't care how good he ends up. Someone else can have him. And John Voyer, again, Suns Jam Session and Brightside, actually had him as a flyer pick. So depending on where he falls based on people's opinions.
So this is where I think he's equal. I think this is where he's equal value. And that's a great point you bring thanks to Boyda. The first mock draft of the year, we're referencing this a lot because we love the early intel that it gave us from Alex Baratha and the NBA.com and the RotoWire lads. There was a bunch of experts put together for their first mock. DeAndre Ayton was taken with the 90th pick in that draft. Now that's late. That's late for him. Like his ADP last year was around 61. In fact, on one of the major ones on the Athletics there, thanks to RotoWire, he actually was well outside that. He returned the 52nd rank value. So I see him possibly, if he falls, he could actually be a cheeky pickup. If he's still there in the 70s, I am taking him because he has an exceptional pick and roll game. They're going to probably still do that again. He's decent in the mid-range. He loves to get close to the bucket. They don't offer floor spacing with him, like 0.13 a game. Like he used to shoot the ball. He probably wants to shoot more, but he just hasn't shown that as a player. So for me, DeAndre Ayton could return around equal value to last year, but you could get him late. So that's could be a bit of a smoky pick. If DeAndre Ayton is randomly sitting in your draft in the 70s or 80s, and he's having a solid preseason doing similar minutes, look, here's a hot take. If DeAndre Ayton in the preseason, his usage is around the same, his minutes are around the same, his points are around 16, he's getting a similar field goal percentage, a similar free throw percentage, similar rebounds, similar assists to what you're seeing on that screen right there, take him. Because he's going to return the same value at the end of the day for you than you know you can get, and you won't be able to get that much later in your draft. Like to get that at number 90 is a massive pickup, to be fair. Yeah. That's a massive double late in your draft if you're picking him up at number 90. So picking him up in the 60s or 70s, definitely the 70s is an absolute steal. Let's talk about the starting five, because we were on that a minute ago and how they rate.
Medu before. I'm curious why.
Yeah. Look, I just see him as a role player in this team. I'm just very curious to see what he does and the way they roll it out. Like I'm just curious with how KBD and Shabazz pops in and what it does to Josh Okogie's
like
minutes.
You said, he's going to be a solid role player. He's going to fit a great second unit. I don't think he's going to provide any fantasy value whatsoever.
Oh, no. There's no fantasy relevance. No. I'm just interested to see what they do. Because, again, Kevin Durant's been much maligned with injuries. So I think when they can, if they're off the gate with this team, look, take Kevin Durant off your team. Phoenix Suns, see you later. Piss off, Kevin Durant. You're done. You're out. Cool. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Josh Okogie, Shabazz Metu, DeAndre Ayton. That sounds like an NBA team. But that doesn't not sound like an NBA team that could win a few games.
Yeah,
if
I think
KD
you're
rests,
just
stay healthy.
overrating Medu compared to what other talent's been brought in.
Oh, no, I'm just throwing him out there as a name. Like putting KBD. Fine. Shabazzy out, KBD in for a game.
You put three names up there. You got KBD, you've got Chimezi, Medu, and then you've got Watanabe.
Yeah,
Medu's at the bottom of the list. Sun Society is like, no. Everyone's on Watanabe at the moment. Everyone's loving Yuta.
Oh,
and
KBD, I would not put that as my depth chart. I'm just putting the names out there who are going to be serviceable because you didn't have that last year. You didn't have that depth last year. So for me, it's about your depth now, and Kevin Durant could easily rest. Like I see a pathway where this could be not a rest season or you get injury management games for KD. But now I certainly believe that Phoenix has more of an opportunity to do that than they have previously with the depth that you've got in that small forward, power forward position.
Minutes
so if you look back at this,
it's really going to be interesting to watch this season.
It really is, because you look at this small forward, power forward spot. So basically, you could roll Josh Okogie as a small forward. Yuta Watanabe, Shabazzy Medu, Keita Bates-Diop. Look, even throw ball in there for 10 minutes a game. You know what I mean?
Don't do that.
You could don't do that. They could, but they could. This is the thing. You've got him on the team. He's getting paid some money. You could throw him in there, but you've got other guys to take that role away from KD. And we'll get to another one of our guards, our Smokey for Jordan Goodwin up there if he gets some minutes. But very easy, we think this could be the starting five. So Josh Okogie, this is the one for us. We have him as a placeholder only because I've chosen him in my starting five because he was in the team last year and it's continuity. So he could be replaced by, as you said. This is a healthy debate.
This is the debate, KBD or Josh Okogie. And I don't, like I said, we spoke yesterday just briefly about this, and I don't think there's going to be an answer until the season starts. I think preseason they will try all 100%. The lineups. Josh Okogie deserves it based on what he did last year. And look, I am a big fan of Josh Okogie because of the effort he puts in. He is the 2022-23 Dan Marley Hustle Award winner. And, I'm a Marley fan. I love the Marley Award.
Under Dan.
And that is an effort.
The amount of waitresses that you have hit on at Marley's Bar in Phoenix has to be an all-time record. Like there should be a plaque of you. There should be a plaque of you on the wall there. Is there a plaque of you on the wall
long enough? When you drink somewhere long enough, people assume that just because you're talking to waitresses, you're hitting on them.
Okay, we've been to Hooters way too many times in our younger years. I know exactly how you are at bars. I know exactly how you are at sports.
Come on, I'm old now, bro. Come on.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Now, talking to us about this all-time leader. So I know that there's a debate in the Suns community about it right now. I'm putting him there only because of his continuity with the team last year, and there being so much newness around the Suns. I'm putting Josh Okogie in there, but as you can see, he doesn't profile. So obviously, the dark green are elite. Lime green, very good. Green is good. And red is not so good at the game of basketball. Or good at the game of basketball, just not anything that's going to bring you. Josh Okogie doesn't do anything good. But he does play good defense. He doesn't show up in the counting stats, but his switchability with the team is proven. His switchability, his versatility as a defender, and his ability to put his body and his athleticism in front. We've spoken about this already. Being a good defender doesn't translate to being fantasy relevant, basketball, defensive stats-wise, but it does translate to you being very competent and getting paid millions of dollars to do your job and stop dudes from scoring the basketball. So this is where I put him in that lineup.
And his defense make this a great team, but it does not translate to fantasy stats, like you said.
And last year, you got a spot-up shooter on the outside if Booker's cooking or Kevin Durant's cooking by the name of Chris Paul, who wasn't that great in the role. Bradley Beal is probably a much more serviceable basketball player in that regard, you would say. He doesn't need to space the same way, I guess.
You want to talk about outside spacing? Like this is where when Kevin Durant came in and Josh Okogie was the other starter. The idea was Okogie would be free in the corner because of double teams, because you double team one other Sun because you got 3 or 4 you've got a double team. That leaves Okogie open. It made us very nervous because his 3-point percentage was up and down through the year. Now he steadied out. And he had a better end of season. He finished at 33. But
33.5 overall.
If
49% for the career though isn't strong.
No, but if this, we're talking about the starting five now, this is where the conversation comes in about is there a better spot up 3-point shooter to take the starting role and have Josh Okogie coming off the bench? And this is where it's going to be hard to pick between, I think, Josh, KBD, and Yuta Watanabe for that spot based on what they want. And they're not going to announce it until we've drafted. Everyone in Fantasy League is going to have drafted by the time this gets announced. So I think those three names might either go late or be available on wires.
And as you can see right now, there's no relevancy to these guys. So the only 4 relevant basketball players in the Phoenix Suns for your fantasy season, immediately speaking, based on a 12-team league, like 12 or 14 players, really are Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. Because after your draft, you're going to probably be able to find a smoky or a pickup really easily from the Phoenix Suns because of their depth. And also because
my favorite one.
Oh, I can't wait to do that. But this is how we see it like shaking.
I'm sure of it.
Oh, we'll get to it in a second. Look, mate, this is the thing. So as we said there's a minute split of Palooza at small forward and power forward. And we really just want to see where that shakes out at the end of the day there in Phoenix. Could see stretches where KD rolls into the 5. Now, I've just been looking around your lineup. I would love to see some small ball Kevin Durant 5, much like LeBron did with LA last year, where he put in the 5 when AD went down. I think Phoenix now has this flexibility in the role to play KD in small space at the 5 and just stretch the floor and run a really quick pace of basketball. That would be really exciting to watch. I think if you're a Suns fan, I think you'd really like to see that at the end of the day.
I think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see it for long stretches based on the moves. So we've got DeAndre Ayton, Drew Eubanks, Bol, and Azubuike. We've got 4 bigs. Yep. And all our other forwards are 6'8" to 6 whatever 11, 7, whatever you want to call Kevin Durant. So I don't think they'll risk his health getting bashed up at the center for long stretches. But I do see the excitement in what you're saying if they run a small ball with him at 5.
Yeah, just even for a short spate in time, I'd love to see a lineup if you get out there. Could you imagine a small lineup of Jordan Goodwin, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, K that beats Diop, and Kevin Durant? That'd be kind of fun.
I don't know if I'd want Jordan Goodwin in that scenario. If you want fun,
I just want any small guy. Give me someone else out. Look, you can even just go Beal, Booker, Okogie, KBD. Look, just throw KBD in there and put DeAndre Ayton on the bench. That's fine there. Now, look, is an Ayton trade still a possibility? This is the question I've got to ask because we spoke about this early on in the pod. DeAndre Ayton, is there still a chance that he gets traded? Because as we touched on, if it was a Monty Williams and it was a CP3 problem in Phoenix, and that was having the impact straight away, I've got to be like, no, actually, no. It's like the Taylor Swift song. I'm the problem. It's me. DeAndre Ayton could be the anti-hero. He could be the Taylor Swift in the situation. DeAndre Ayton could be the problem here. If he is the problem, do the Suns be like, it's that guy. Here's the problem. It's him. And he's out the door. Is that a possibility still in PHX land?
I think it is. Based on everything looks on paper like we're done. We can't make any more moves. There's no more salary cap flexibility. But we keep hearing rumors that Ishbia said, "I'm not done."
Yeah, he said that a lot.
There's nothing.
He likes to talk a game. The thing is, he likes to talk a game, and I love this. But then he backs it up. So you've got to think it's like real, right? Yeah,
he backs it up. But that's what I'm saying. We keep hearing that he's saying, "I'm not done." Or we're not done, so that James Jones doesn't get upset about his role. But
we'll talk about that in a second too.
The only thing left we've got to trade is Ayton's contract. And I don't know if he says we're not done as in by start of season, start of training camp, or if there's any questions about Ayton by the trade deadline. I think they definitely shop him.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just thinking him finally be what we all thought he could be, and this becomes the juggernaut that we all hope.
Or he breaks your heart, like you said, like your first love.
I'm sick of that.
Shout out to those girls.
Before I'm done with him.
There you go. I'm just saying, shouting out to all those girls whose names I know, whose hearts you've broken. Just much like DeAndre Ayton can break yours. Much respect to that one.
Every
DA's on there.
Shit.
I could. Damn, we go deep. 30 years, we'll do some names to you. I'm telling you now. The impact of health. You touched on this, and I love that. Kevin Durant, you had that there. Games played last year. Go on, shoot. How many was that? 50, you said?
47 total. So
47.
8 in Phoenix.
Yep. Devin Booker.
53.
There you go. Magic game. How many did Bradley Beal play last season?
Oh, let me set. Oh, only 50.
There you go. So the big question is here the impact of health and what it has on Phoenix. This could be another year where we're really primed for an outrageously good Phoenix Suns season, and we get disappointed only because of I have the red flag on Kevin Durant, not because I actually love Kevin Durant. I just love his ego, his attitude, everything about him is just pure baller. Like, I love that he's been talking about Devin Booker for years. Then he's gotten into a situation with the guy who he respects and wants to play ball for. I love that they got Brad Beal in here. There's that whole Team USA connection with them and the camps. Like, I love that about him. I just want to see him healthy. Because you don't want to see anyone injured in the NBA. It's like when we say these things as podcasters or analysts, or we look at this, we don't want anyone to not be healthy. Like, I want Victor Oladipo to come back, because you don't want to see someone get injured and not play the game of basketball that they love and they do and they're passionate about. And that's especially the case with Kevin Durant. Lonzo Ball, like, huge disappointment. Not because we don't like the dude, just because he's injured, and that sucks. Kevin Durant, we want to see healthy, because an elite operating fully healthy Kevin Durant is an absolute smoke show on this team for you. So that's a big one there, which brings us now to our watch this space guys. Because if he goes down and someone who could be possibly more reliably healthy on your team is back, we've got Bradley Beal. Now, Bradley Beal, we're going to look at two things with Bradley Beal real quickly here. Well, not real quickly. We'll have a chat. We'll see where it is. Bradley Beal at rank number 38 last year. There's his stats. So let's say Bradley Beal didn't exist as an NBA player as we know him. And he was just as competent or as capable in some ways as a guy called Chris Paul. Chris Paul last season finished as the 48th ranked player, 32 minutes a game, 13 points a game, 1.7 threes, 440 from the field. So you can see that Beal's field goal percentage has increased. Beal has a better free throw percentage. Beal gets less rebounds than the little fella CP3. That's weird. Assists, obviously, Chris Paul is elite. 8.9 dots a game. Steals, Chris Paul's up at 1.5. Beal gets you more blocks. And your turnovers, that should not have been 33.6. There is no way there that I put that number in. I can absolutely tell you that it was 2.9, and I don't know what I put in there instead. It might have been a use. Oh, it was the minutes played per game. Bugger me sideways and call me spanked. That should be – it was 2.9 turnovers a game.
I want to go back to your comment on rebounds, though, being weird. It's not actually weird to see CP3 getting more boards than Brad Beal. If you looked at the Suns system, watched the way the games are played, CP3 positions himself so that he is open for boards to bring the ball straight up. It happens all the time. You just see the ball just comes to him. It's not like he actually jumps. I don't think I've ever seen him jump to get a rebound. It's just there and it comes to his hands. So
you know me, I love a rebound. We've played basketball together for like 30 years. Mm-hmm. I'm bigger than Chris Paul. If I could get 4.3 rebounds,
I put shoes on. I might be bigger than Chris Paul, and I'm not tall.
I would love to play an NBA game and get 4.3 rebounds. Be like, oh, I got 4.3 rebounds in a game. Did nothing else. It's shit efficiency. But look at me. I caught the basketball, but it bounced off the rim a few times. This is what we're trying to do as a bit of a compare and contrast exercise. Could Bradley Beal return you the same value in your fantasy season this year that Chris Paul did last year? Now, we mentioned that Alex Baratha preseason draft before. Bradley Beal went 55th in that one. Improved efficiency last season. He's an upgrade of CP3 by way of spacing and attack. And he has that Team USA history and playing in a system already with Book and Durant through those warm-ups right there. So he comes into this. Now, if he's going to pick 55 in this preseason draft, the thing is hesitancy. Hesitancy can give you value in your NBA fantasy draft because we don't know. It's like we're all scared of what we don't know. We're living in caves. We don't know what Bradley Beal represents as the point guard of the Phoenix Suns. But he could represent the 48th best, 45th best, 40th best value at the end of the day. Last year, he was the 38th best value doing what he did there. With an improvement of assists, an improvement of steals and focused on defense, keeping similar efficiency because of the amount of looks that he can get in a team with two incredible options in Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, he could be better than the 38th pick. He's gone as the 55th pick in a mock. You could probably pick him up anywhere from 40 to 50. Do you take him in the early 4th round, late 3rd round? Yes or no, Nate?
I would go yes. And I'm going to quote Jake here as well, our fallen founder, Podsluck. Yep. He had Brad Beal as his flyer. he had Brad Beal as his flyer. He said that based on increased assists from the Rollers facilitator, and open shots based on Booker and KD around him. So it's going to be a different game from Beal, but Beal's not a superstar because he's not great. So he can change his role and provide value. Yeah. And I think it's just the box is going to look a little different. But if you get him, like you said, 4th round, it's going to be hard to say no.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be hard to say no. It's like one of those guys who's just there in your fantasy draft. And you're like, do I take him? He's available. And you probably will say yes. I actually should have run. You know what I might do? I might just post it up on Twitter. Actually, I will do it. I'm going to post it on Twitter afterwards or on the socials. So make sure you follow me at NBAGWiz. I'm going to blend these two stats together and actually find an average. Because if you could find the average between these two guys and where it profiles out, you're probably looking at someone about the same value of where it goes between your rankings. And if you can pick him up, he went in this one at 55, which just tells me that people are scared to draft him because they don't know yet. Now, that will change come the preseason. They might showcase him a couple of times, or they might be like, look, you don't want to fuck with us. Like, welcome to Phoenix. We're coming for the ring. We're coming for the bag. We're coming for everything this season.
Every team in the league knows Phoenix is going for the ring. You don't make these big swings and throw the luxury tax out the door just for not going.
Luxury tax? What luxury tax?
But that's only the second tier of luxury tax we've hit.
How many more can we get? Matty should be sitting back. How many tiers are there? It's like watching a wedding cake. Matty should be like 1, 2, 3. Who are the 2 people on top? How much do I have to pay to be those people? And he's doing it every single time. We love that for Bradley Beal. So right here, watch this space for Bradley Beal. Because again, if people in your draft are scared off him and he's still there in the 50s, you're grabbing him. Absolutely grab Bradley Beal anywhere from 50 on. I 100% think there could be a return on him because, again, Devin Booker, he got injured last season. One of the most injury-plagued seasons he's had. Fair. So let's say he's back to normal. But Kevin Durant hasn't had an injury-free season now in a few. So they're going to have to do some heavy lifting at times. And if that falls to Bradley Beal to do some heavy lifting, he's going to obviously increase that value if he can keep similar efficiency from last year.
Guarantee they will share the love on that one.
So this is back to our previous chat on our old mate, DeAndre Ayton. Let's say he does get moved and you don't pick up a center in the trade. Drew Eubanks has come on in and he is an absolute serviceable NBA big. In fact, as a starter, he averages 26 minutes a game, 10 points a game. He's basically, if he improved his rebounding, he could be a double-double threat. He is very serviceable. He's had the game. He's shown us flashes.
I was so devastated to see Jock Landale go, but I have to be the first to admit this is an upgrade.
This is an upgrade.
Yeah,
I don't think by way of spacing. I think by this, because of the spacing that they have in the Suns, I don't think they need it necessarily. Oh, really?
This guy is a three-point shooter. This guy is a three-point shooter. He's super mobile. He is a block king. He chases down blocks with passion. So you're getting a little bit out of every part of a game with this guy. This is why I said to you before, like this is my guy to watch because he does a little bit of everything, and he just watch his highlight reels. It's amazing to see how far he will move out of the key. He can hit a three. He'll run back in.
But he gets 0.1 threes a game. He doesn't profile for me much as a 3-point shooter.
Stats, and that's where the downside comes in, is the inconsistency. The risk of him is the inconsistency of games. He's going to pull some really good ones out. He's going to pull some really average ones out.
I'll pull some really good ones out.
The inconsistency is going to be the frustrating part here, but he can produce.
Look, he can produce it.
He is definitely, if DA is out for a game for some reason or whatever other reason, let's say he smokes weed again and loses 20 games, this is the guy that's going to be starting for the team.
100%. And he's definitely a stream target if minutes are there for those field goal percentage, rebounds and blocks. Look, I personally wouldn't put anything in there by way of, 3-pointers, but steals 0.7 as a starter and 1.1 in 26 minutes. If that creeps up to 30 and he gets you another block or half a block, you're looking over you're looking over a couple of stocks a game, and you like that. You really like that. He doesn't turn the ball over much, but his field goal percentage is absolutely brilliant. He stat pads. He could be a double-double every single game in that role. And in a Phoenix Suns team, which is going to throw up a lot of shots from the outside, he's a presence near the rim who we definitely think you should watch as a stream target if DeAndre Ayton is down, he goes out for any sustained period, does drugs again and gets suspended, or obviously is traded off the block. And not does drugs, sorry, has an accidental ingestation of something he shouldn't have to gain muscle mass. Not a drug, just a bad choice, DeAndre. Make better ones.
Point of your story is this guy is going to slide. This guy is going to be at the bottom in the last rounds that you're picking, and it is definitely worth taking a flyer on. This is the guy that I wrote down for taking the flyer on.
Yeah, this is your last round. You draft down. There's four picks left in your draft.
Oh,
you don't know. You haven't got
second or third last round. I'd take this one.
There you go. You can pick him up very easily, but definitely will be a stream target as a flyer in the last round if he's there on the bench. And again, if he's not taken, you'll be able to pick him up, but you're going to have to run to your waiver wire because he will be a very incredibly serviceable center and backup option to DA. This goes to another serviceable point guard if we do have a similar season. Let's say worst case scenario. This is, Chicken Little. The sky is falling. And Devin Booker's going down again, and Bradley Beal's going down again. Who do you have as a point guard left on your basketball team, Nate?
This is it. We don't have any point guards. Jordan Goodwin is the only point guard on the team. He's literally the only point guard on the team.
He's the only point guard on the team. Like, actually, he is the only point guard on your team. If I had to do a depth chart of point guard, it's Jordan. That's it.
It's funny because we as Suns fans, we're really good at making excuses. So all the conversation has transitioned to positionless basketball because we've only got one point guard. I mean, we only had two before, but campaign was too expensive for the luxury tax threshold, so they fobbed him off to two second rounds.
Can we see the opposite if those guys get injured? Can we see the opposite of if Devin Booker gets injured and KD gets injured? Can we just see an inverse relationship somewhere of like the opposite of the center thing where you roll out like a traditional center for 5 minutes and then get them off the court really quickly to go small? Can we just see let's just start with Jordan Goodwin as the point guard for 5 minutes, see how it goes, and then get him out of there and put another shooting guard in? Eric Gordon, go on. Eric, you're needed, Eric.
And that's the other thing too. I think you're going to see Eric Gordon play a lot of point guard minutes in rotations, but all the chatter was that in the Beal trade, Jordan Goodwin wasn't a throw-in piece. It was a piece they wanted as part of that trade. And I think Voida was probably the first one to mention it on Suns Jam session that the first time I heard it, that they really wanted to consider Jordan Goodwin as the backup point guard. And that was even while campaign was still on the team.
Yeah, and if we look back there, as we said before, we see Eric Gordon having more value only by way of the fact that there's going to be a role for him as the second string shooting guard off the bench, because there's in the second unit, you need Eric Gordon there. That could be an excellent second unit. You could have Jordan Goodwin, Eric Gordon in your second unit, Keita Bates-Diop on the provision that Josh Okogie is there. It's basically a tanking basketball team. Your second unit is a tanking basketball team who can do some stuff. And that's where Eric Gordon...
It'd still beat Detroit.
It's still... No, I wish good things for Detroit. I would like them to not suck. I would like a serviceable season for them. But yeah, as you said, Eric Gordon rolls out there. Jordan Goodwin is by default your starting point guard. Now, he's only started 7 games in his NBA career with 30 minutes a night, 12 points a game. His free throw percentage is down as a starter. Now, his attempts, this is based on volume as well. So he almost gets double the amount of free throw attempts as a starter than he does. I think it's 1 attempt a game, if I'm not mistaken, as a bench dude. He gets 2 attempts a game as a starter. So not that high, but he basically hits a crap percentage. Field goal percentage isn't that great. He rebounds a little bit. He gives you those assists, but where he profiles incredibly well as a starter is his steals. So he is absolutely an assist and steals target as a streamer. If anything, sky is falling situation happens in the Phoenix Suns this year, Jordan Goodwin, as you said, that's one of your other flyers and guys to keep and watch this space on, really, Nate.
No, not mine.
No,
but
not yours.
I understand. I understand everything you said, but this is a toss a coin for me. I don't think the situation had in Washington translates at all to the situation he's going to be in Phoenix. So I think it's toss a coin what it looks like. It could look great. It could look shit. It could just look average.
Look, it could look really shit, but I think it's another jobs for mates thing. Obviously, he's been over in Washington. He's come across in the trade. They could have let him go, but they need one. So I think it's an insurance policy. And as you said, they let campaign go for a reason, especially because of the money, but mostly the money. And that's mostly money. But if you look around and see, and Matt Ashby is going to, but yeah, he's gone for the money. So there's a guy there, but there's no one else to fill the void. Like I look around and like Eric Gordon could do the job. So Eric Gordon could slide in as the starting point guard, let's say, if Bradley Beal goes down. So therefore that translates to bench minutes for Jordan Goodwin again, similar to where he is there. And that's where he could have increased value because there's no one else in this team to fill in that backup point guard role then. So if they keep as a backup yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. So from all the pods, so there's 6 different pods here that I've gone to the guys and said, hey, give me your feedback on. Give me who would you draft and give the must have or first round, second round. Who would you take a flyer on? What's your hot take? Not a single mention of Jordan Goodwin from anyone. So
as I said, he is a watch this space guy. And so when we're recommending these guys, look, I don't think there's anything by way and virtue of him being immediately out the gate value. Like I'm not drafting Jordan Goodwin, but this is a sky is falling situation pick for me. So if I hear that Brad Beal's gone down, okay, let's just assume then who is your new starting point. If they run point book, Eric Gordon then might come in as your starting shooting guard. So that could be a ripple effect there where there's minutes available. Devin has to have a rest.
This is your Tyus Jones when Ja Morant's not playing.
This is my Tyus Jones when Ja Morant's not playing. Again, it's a watch this space and watch what he can do because as a starter, he's proved serviceable and he's a stream option definitely for those assists and steals. He can knock down as a starter. You can see he's got 1.3 threes a game in that role. I mean, if you look back at Chris Paul and the other blokes, they're not making more than 2 a game. He doesn't do it at great efficiency, but there will be a role and he needs to fill that role. Much like Campaign has always filled that role in Phoenix. There's always been a point guard in Phoenix that fills that role. And by virtue, that's where Jordan Goodwin has some merit. But again, that merit's improved. And you could wait and see how it rolls out in the next game. So you're not running to the waiver wire for this guy. This isn't like if DeAndre Ayton goes down. You're just the second that you're watching that game live, you're like, oh, that's just wait, and you're stopping your wife in the middle of a conversation and you go, what do we? No, I'm just adding Drew Eubanks. Hang on, I'll be a second. It's not like that situation. Because you've got like
you'll be stopping waitress somewhere apparently.
You'll be stopping someone over at Marley's Bar and Grill. Shout out, hello Dan. But yeah, you're definitely not doing that for Jordan Goodwin. You're definitely waiting to see what they do with that next because if they start point book and they bring Eric Gordon into your lineup as a shooting guard, I would like to see the minutes that Jordan Goodwin gets being the only other point guard because if that's the case, you're going to have to make some rotational choices in Phoenix because there's no other point guard. This is where that DeAndre Ayton trade gets very interesting. If they bring in another point guard there, Jordan Goodwin's out and I wouldn't even speak of his name again for the rest of the fantasy season or possibly his NBA career. Who knows? So if they bring in someone in that role or they get a 2-for-1, that's where Jordan's out and then you can see what happens from there. That's my conversational merit behind that. Does that make sense?
I got to tell you, I was really scared that they were going to trade for Kyrie Irving. DeAndre Ayton to Dallas for Kyrie Irving because Dallas has openly said they wanted to bring in DeAndre Ayton. And if you look at what happened at the trade deadline last year, all the rumors were about they bringing Kyrie into Phoenix and ended up getting KD. So I thought it was a long play where they were just going to bring in KD now and bring Kyrie in the offseason. I'm actually happy that didn't play out. I don't really want Kyrie on the team. So I'm kind of hoping that DeAndre works out and this whole positionless off guard to point guard facilitation works.
So tell me about it then, though. This brings us to pretty much the last segment of our predictions for this season. Predictions wise, is DeAndre traded? This is yes or no question. So DeAndre traded, yes or no by the end of the season?
I'm going to go with no. I mean, I know is it still a possibility was the question you asked before. And based on noise, media noise, yes, it is. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say no. And the system just works. Because he knows he has no more excuses and it has to work now. He got what he wanted. He got his bag, he got a new coach. He got the best players in the world playing on his team. I'm going to go with no.
All right. Next question. Phoenix Suns, over or under? Currently on Sportsbet, it is 52.5 wins for this season. It is under. The under is at 177. The over is at $197. So they don't think they're going to win more than 52 games. Do you win more than 52 games this year?
Yes. I had them at 55 to 60.
You had them at 55 to 60?
Yeah. I have them either winning the West or coming second. So
It's really interesting. You guys by mid-January last year were 21 wins and 24 after a hot start. Then you recovered well leading up to a 9-2 span to sit with 30 and 26 prior to February. And then you went 12-9 after the deadline. So if you look at your players. And you've got, it's a new basketball team. Like it's 100%. Like you look at it, you finish with a 45 and 37. So the question does become, do you win 8 more games? Well, if you're healthy, yes.
Well, if you look at those games played for Booker and KD and Beal, if between them they can drop a little bit of minutes and improve the longevity of their season, you increase the games. The more games they play, the more games we win.
Yeah, by virtue. Look, I don't think it's at the end of the day last year. If you're looking at that over and under wins, and you look at the best teams in the summary. So if you look at the best teams who won the most games last year, it was 58 teams for the wins for the Bucks, 57 for the Celtics, 54 for the 76ers, 53 was your Nuggets, who kind of cruised a little bit at the end. So
it was their season
for the Nuggets. It was their season, but the year before it was 62 wins. You guys had 62 wins.
We had the best record in the NBA, and then lost in the second round of Dallas in 6.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, you lose a few playoff games. This is the one. The big one. Where do you make it in the playoffs this year? Do you win it all?
All Suns fans have us going all the way. And there's a lot of chatter about how good would a rematch be against the Bucks. Because
that would be nice.
It is extremely difficult to repeat a championship. Like there's not a lot of times that you can say. You can probably pick 3 or 4 teams off the top of your head that have done it. And so Denver didn't improve. They lost a couple of pieces. So I don't think they'll get the same run they did last year. Teams know how hard it is to play in Denver. And I think that's why I've said that I want to say 1 or 2, but I think we finish ahead of Denver based purely on we don't want to give up home court advantage in the postseason to Denver based on the difficulty of playing in the atmosphere. Like we did a whole pod talking about the pressure of playing in the altitude and the lowering blood circulation or oxygen-rich blood circulation and the whole difficulty of it. So you want to put all the things, chips in your favor of home court advantage, especially against
This is why, and to be fair, like, you know me, I'm a LeBron fan. My childhood team, the Charlotte Hornets, was taken away and became Excavator. I like to call them the Charlotte Excavators, the Bobcats, during that period of time. So I didn't have a team, so I always just followed players who I liked after that, and LeBron became my guy. I loved the Lakers beating the Nuggets last year for one reason. I would have loved that narrative of the Lakers versus the Heat just to have that bubble finals. I want the Lakers to win, not because I wanted just LeBron to get a chip and be like, oh, I'm a LeBron lover. No, how cool it would have been if you were a Lakers and a Heat fan to watch your two teams play in the playoffs and play in the finals that you missed playing because they were in a bubble. I would love to see a Phoenix Suns. I reckon there's going to be so much going on in that Suns-Bucks final. It would be absolutely huge. And I think the Suns would win this time.
Look, the problem last time was we didn't have the bodies to take all the fouls. Now we've got the bodies if we got the rematch. Because the way they won was driving Giannis straight down the middle and then fouling our players out. So now we've got a very serviceable defender, Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, I reckon, look, I think you're in for an amazing season of Phoenix. And again, the bright side of the sun has been around now for a long time after some very maligned years. It's up and up. In our final takeaway for fantasy for this season, who are you drafting if you have a pick in the early rounds? Who are you looking at number 1?
Well, given it's a fantasy Suns edition pod, I have written down nothing. I am not taking a Sun in my first round. I probably will not take a Sun in my second round, and I will look what falls to the third. I consider our starting lineup a logjam, which doesn't lend itself to fantasy in the early rounds. That's my opinion.
I see that being very similar to the case with you guys. I see it being a bit of a logjam there. Again, it's not just a minute share; it's a usage share at the end of the day in Phoenix. But there are some guys like Bradley Beal. If he slides into the 50s, you definitely want to have a look at. If Devin Booker slides into the 30s.
We did miss.
Well, that's my big thing. My prediction is who's your late round flyer. The prediction is who's your late round flyer. So who's your early? Who's your smoky late round sleeper flyer?
Let's not talk about me. Let's go on consensus of the pod guys. and it's
Would
Yuta
love
Watanabe.
that.
So both Justin,
The wrist. Can we coin the wrist? I think it's that Kanye song.
Sorry,
the wrist. Yuta Watanabe. Yuta Watanabe, you're my wrist.
Yeah, there's no country version of that song, is there?
There's no. You like too much country music.
Yeah, look.
So Yuta's the flyer.
You call him the friend pick because of Durant, but this guy's a 50% 3-point shooter. He's 6'8". He can play all wing positions, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and he's been improving year on year. So I kind of agree with the guys that it'd be interesting to see where he falls because there's probably going to be some category value for him late. Like don't reach for it, but that I see him as a much risk he starts. Like he's been thrown in the conversation as is he the third player in question for that fifth starting role? I don't think there is, but he's definitely going to have a set position in the second unit.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he can do. I think again he's probably also tied to Kevin Durant being out and what they do then if KD goes down. I think he's probably not a flyer that I'm going to pick up in my draft, but he's definitely someone who I'd look at via injury to see what opportunity presents and what opportunity knocks for Yuta Watanabe. And then he's probably a grab, especially if he gets a starting role and he's useful. He's definitely going to be one of those knockdown shooters there, and he's going to provide you 3 points a game on decent field goal efficiency because he's not going to be getting the ball in isolation scoring. Like there's not like just pass Yuta the ball and let him cook. It's going to be book, cook, pass out. Yuta shoots it, Yuta makes it, and adding you some rebounds along the way, decent field goal efficiency, decent free throw. He's not going to tank you anywhere. So he's going to be a useful pickup late.
44.4% in Brooklyn last year from 58 games.
Yep.
Now, Damian Lee was leading the league in 3-point percentage for a long while there for the Suns.
Yep.
He averaged 44.5 by the end of the season. So Yuta could end up being the best 3-point shooter on the Suns next season.
That's almost NBA leading 3-point percentage, to be fair. So there's he can knock him down. And he's almost like that Rui Hachimura role with the Lakers. You know, that big extra body who just can stand around, defend, play that spacing floor like that 6'8", 6'9" by wing design and knock down your threes. So look, I expect him to have a better season. I don't know if I'm hitting the overs on this one because I was burnt by it last year. I don't know.
The 52 games?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm hitting the. I don't know yet. I just got to see injury-wise. I don't like to tie anything to injuries because we don't know it. It's just what magic ball can I gaze into and see how healthy the Phoenix Suns? If the Phoenix Suns are healthy, they're going to smash 52. I reckon they're going to be a 60-win team, 100% if they're healthy. I think they're absolutely in line for it. I would love to see how it plays off in the playoffs with them. It's a really interesting rebuild that they put together over there, 100%. But I just need to see the health of the team with these 4 stars, if you will. I mean, DeAndre plays, but I need to see Bradley Beal playing a lot of games, Devin Booker playing a lot of games, and Kevin Durant playing a lot of games, and I'll smash the over every single day of the week. So we've already got the Pacers as an absolute lock to go over this season.
Okay.
We've got the Pacers lock over. We've got the Hornets going over. This is one of the unsure over. Depends on which direction the way the Hornets go so far in the pods that I've done. If they want to tank again, they'll go under because, yay, draft pick.
Well,
but
it's on the next Aussie Suns Fans pod we're recording tomorrow. We go live. We're actually doing the Atlantic Division, and we've already predicted out the Eastern Conference. I did it over a few wines, so it'd be interesting.
It's going to be quality content. That's going to be some quality content.
Going back over what we haven't recorded yet, we go live, but when I go back over my list, I had the Pacers still low. I didn't have them improving. I definitely had the Hornets going up 1 or 2 places in the East.
So I've currently a cheeky multi you could throw on would be over for 37.5 wins for the Pacers, over 37.5, and your Suns over 52.5 at 342.
I'd definitely take that over.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout at the end of the day. Nate, my brother from another mother.
So much fun.
I'll see you at Christmas.
Yes, I have booked my flights. Yes.
We're out there. You're actually based in Singapore now. I'm here in Sydney, so it's good that you come back over the country.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I've got to give my shout outs, but I moved to Singapore
give you shout outs, mate.
a year ago.
Yep.
And so all the Aussie Suns Fans pods we used to do were in Australia, and now I have to chime in because of the time difference a couple of hours earlier. So they're getting more and more sober every time we do the pod because they're getting it earlier and earlier. But no, just look to the guys that contributed from, again, Suns Jam Session.
Yeah, give him a shout, mate. Give him a shout.
John Voider at Darth Voider, from Justin at So Says Jay at Fanning the Flames, Dan Duarte from Fanning the Flames and Coast to Coast with Flex. That's at Dan Duarte 1. Podslut, Jake Brogner at Fallen Founder. And of course, Gavin Spall is at Aussie Suns Fans. So he runs our pod.
Thank you very much to all those contributors. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me on. It's been good to actually finally do a pod together after all these years of talking basketball. We actually get to record it.
We do indeed, man. Hey, thank you so much, my brother. Much love to you. Much love to the family. Much love to all those contributors for giving you some outstanding questions. This has been an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. This is my dog, apparently wanting some attention because I've been here way too long. You can see that on the bottom of the screen. Hello, Dasher. I think it's your first pod cameo, hon. There you go. There's that one. I am at MBAG Wiz. That is at Nicky's Falcon. Give us a shout out. Give us a follow. Give us a subscribe. Enjoy all your content. We've got more coming in the preseason. Every team will be previewed and a whole bunch of mock drafts coming this week. Enjoy. Peace out, Hoopers.